Welcome to the Grit of the Matter, where we talk about what it takes to grow through life's unexpected challenges. I'm Denise, and this podcast is built on 5 pillars: grace, resilience, intentional, trust, and thrive. These conversations are for inspiration and education only and are not substitute for medical or professional advice. Please consult your qualified provider for your personal needs. If this resonates with you, be sure to like, follow, share, and make sure to turn on those notifications so you never miss an episode. Now, let's get to the grit of the matter.
All right, here we go. Welcome in, everybody, to the Grit of the Matter. How is everybody today? I am so excited to introduce another guest to the show. One of the things that I absolutely love about having a podcast is having conversations with real people that are navigating their own lives and they're having their own journeys and all of the things that they're doing to share new lessons with other people or bring something out in everything that they do. So today I'm going to just say I've watched him for so long on Clapper and he is going to be here as my guest. So you guys get to meet the one that I see and what has drawn me into this amazing side of Clapper that a lot of people don't realize. So he shares content that is meant to help people, bring them smiles and encourage them when those mental health challenges come around. He's got this mental awareness side to him, and he just reminds people to enjoy the simple things out there and do what's right for them and what feels good to them. So I am so very excited to introduce Tim. Welcome to the show, Tim. How are you today?
Thanks for having me. If I come into issues, you'll be my PR. I'll tell you. You make me sound like $1 million, Denise. Great.
Yay! That's good. So, Tim, for the listeners out there that might be seeing you or meeting you for the very first time, tell us a little bit about yourself, your journey, and what led you to doing what you do to help people, whether it be on Clapper. I know that we've talked in the background just a little bit before we started here. And you said you're kind of venturing out a little bit. So tell me a little bit about your story, and then I'll build some questions off of that.
Sure. Okay. So, I started, as, inside my mother, and, she carried me. No, I'll skip ahead. Sorry.
No, you're fine.
No, my whole journey in life is really the main message I try and send is you're not alone. No matter what you're dealing with, you're not alone. And in a nutshell, I have a lot of struggles, whether that be, I struggle with addiction and mental health, and I have physical problems, and the list goes on and on and on. And it's really easy to get all that and say, oh man, I may as well just give up. I've been dealt this terrible hand. What's the point? Or you say to yourself, you know what, I'm going to push on because number one, there's people just like me. You feel alone, it's not true. There's people just like me who could really get inspiration, encouragement from someone who is going through that same path and overcome it. That's exciting to me to try and give hope. And there's people way worse off than me, and I have to constantly remember that no matter what I'm struggling with, I don't even have close to as bad as a lot of other people. So I try and just spread a little sunshine and light and encouragement on this world. And I just never want someone to feel like you're alone. That is like the worst feeling you can possibly have, that no one understands me, no one knows what I'm going through, no one can possibly help me because I have this completely unique situation that no one has ever overcome before. And that's complete baloney. You have so many people walking your same path who have been victorious, and you can do it too. So that's my main purpose.
Yeah. So you do think you're pretty big on Clapper, and I that's where I saw you for the very first time. Was on Clapper, and there is just a shine in your personality that just draws people to you. So Can you tell me any experiences that you've had with that? Do people connect with you that way? Do they reach out to you and say, "I'm so happy that I've met you"? Do you hear that from very many people? I know you're pretty big over there.
So the long and short of my journey on social media, and take you back a few years here. I used to be a writer for a fantasy football website. And I said,
Okay.
"Oh, I'm gonna be like the kids and join TikTok because that's where they are, right?
Yeah.
And it'll be fun. I'll make some fun content." And it was all right. And I also love hockey. And there was this trend at the time, and I posted a hockey video and it got lots of views. I thought, "Oh, I guess this is the direction I'm going now. I'll just do the writing on the
Mhm.
side, I guess." And I was making hockey content on TikTok and having a blast, but the platform itself was, like, super troubling.
Yeah.
If you had issues, you couldn't get help. I have bipolar, so every once in a while, I wanna talk about that. On there, if you say I have bipolar, they flag it as offensive. What the heck is that? So, I was really struggling on there, but it was fun, whatever, and somebody, and I wish I could remember who they are, but somebody reached out to me in the DM and said, "You should try Clapper, you probably really like it.
Yeah.
You are the type of person who would thrive there." And looking back now, it's because I like to interact. I like to read every comment. I like to respond. Why
Mhm.
would you go check out somebody's social media, whether they're live or a video or whatever, and then they don't read a single thing? That always was confusing to me. So I tried
Yeah.
Clapper, and it was like a new. If you have never been on Clapper, it's a completely different experience. It looks a lot like TikTok, but it acts very differently. It's like TikTok if adults were there, I guess they say.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
I guess because of who I am, because I like to engage and interact and read comments, and I really want to get to know my viewers and stuff. I did very well
Mhm.
there by the numbers. Uh, I hit. It was like 4 days in, I had like 1,000 followers or something, and it was like, less than 3 months, I had 30,000. I had 100,000 in like 8 months. Truthfully, none of it means anything to me. I wish I could just give some away, but it's been regardless. So
Yeah.
I think people just find a way, when you're on social media and you're looking at funny stuff or cooking stuff or whatever you're looking at, right? You're entertained, but it's not often that you find someone on the other side of the screen that almost taps the screen at you. And you're like, "Oh, that's kinda neat. This person will actually respond to me." And I think that's the only reason I do it. It's not my pretty face, I'll tell you that much. It's really just, finding a way to connect with people on the other side of the screen who could be anywhere on the planet.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think that's what it is too, is like that connection I think that's what it is. It's that personality that you have that just draws people in. And probably that connection that people are looking for, right? That they don't necessarily get from anywhere else. If you're commenting and you're replying and you're interacting with them, most people are looking for that.
Yeah,
Right? They want somebody to say, "I understand you. I know where you're at." And then they say something or comment on your post and then you reply and they're like,
yeah,
what in the world, you know? And so I don't know. I know that that's what caught me whenever I saw you the very first time was just that you just have a shine about you. It's just a personality thing and then you can just be like, did you know that this was, I think one of the first ones that I ever saw was you were saying that there was something wrong, but it was a funny thing. I don't even remember what it was, but it was just kind of like drew me in. And I was like, I need to meet this dude.
I love comedy. I like to make people laugh, even at my expense. But my favorite style of comedy, I call deception comedy. So I'll
Yeah.
say something like, "You'll never believe it. You'll never believe what someone said on this.
That. Yeah.
But what happened?" And in the end, I'm just telling some nonsense thing that doesn't even matter. But you draw
Yeah.
them in and you twist it into something funny. I
Yeah.
find enjoyment out of
Yeah. And that's the good thing. That's what you can do, right? I
it.
mean, if we can't do that, if we can't make people happy, you know, What do we do with our time?
Yeah.
Right? Right? So, I mean, just make people happy. Um, okay, so I'll ask you a few questions and we'll just kind of go from there. How does that sound?
Oh, fantastic.
So, your content focuses on just making people smile and encouraging health awareness. We've kind of we've kind of talked about why you do it, but and you've mentioned why you decided on that platform, but you've also mentioned that you're moving into another platform now. You're starting to kind of like venture off into new areas. Why have you decided to do that?
So, like I said, I used to post hockey content. That is one of the only bad things about Clabber. Nobody gives a rip about hockey over there. Unfortunately, it's a cardinal sin. I can't cure Clabber for their non-love of hockey. So I got to go elsewhere like a needy little child. So lately I've been making videos again on YouTube for the first time in I don't know how long. And that's super fun. So I'm trying to just post just hockey stuff over there and then do my normal whatever you want to call it on Clapper. But
Yeah,
that's really fun because it's funny. There's something interesting, special about a connection you can have with someone that you don't even know on the internet. Like in my own personal life, none of my friends, family, nobody likes hockey. But, if I go online, millions of people can talk about it. That's a really cool thing. But conversely, like on Clapper, you can talk to strangers about stuff that you normally wouldn't talk about, feel comfortable about, or whatever with somebody online. And that's a really neat thing that I think a lot of people don't really understand or haven't really woken up to. And so I
yeah,
can have a hockey over on YouTube, and I can have my whatever it is over on Clapper.
yeah, yeah. So, this one will be a little bit more serious for you. You mentioned an addiction as part of your experience. If you're comfortable sharing with it, how did that season of life shape who you are today?
In a nutshell, the addiction really, I don't know how to explain how it started because I wasn't pressured into it. I didn't even get started into it, fix something that was broken, although eventually that started to happen. But I think it really just
Yeah,
was, I wanted to experience, I was curious, maybe, whatever. Um, so if you didn't know this already, if you have mental health, mixing in any substances is a terrible idea. So that took
yeah,
me on a roller coaster for a number of years. Pardon me. So,
yeah,
uh, it started out as curiosity, and then it turned into me trying to basically like self-medicate, if you will, and then it just became a
mm,
complete dependency I couldn't get out of. And
yeah,
uh, you know, a a huge proponent of why I spend a lot of time with people trying to help, say you're not alone and that there's help out there and listen and all of this stuff is because for those of us who have been on the other side, I shouldn't be alive today times a ton.
mhm,
There were people who spent a lot of time, money, energy, investment into me that did not have to. I was a lost cause in many ways back when I was truly lost, and people didn't want to give up on me. And I really believe that, no matter how bad somebody has it with addiction, everyone can be by somebody, whether that's a professional, whether that's some rando on the internet, whether that's a friend, a family, whatever. Uh, Nobody should be given up, no matter how dire their situation may look. So I really took getting out of this the hopelessness that I was in for, a long time. I don't know how long that was. Uh, and I said, I never want someone else to feel that same way. And I want to basically repay what others have paid into me, because otherwise that's almost like a slap in the face to them to just, I get saved from my turmoil and I say, well, I guess on with my life and I don't give back.
yeah,
That's it's crucial if you're, no matter what you're through, whether it's addiction or any situation where you're in a bind and someone or some people come and pull you out. It's crucial to me, I think, that you go and do that same service for somebody else because there's always somebody in need. And that person is just like you. And maybe they can glean some hope and wisdom from what you've been.
Yeah. And it's kind of like you say though, like it's a pay it forward kind of thing, right? So it's just like if somebody behind you in a restaurant pays for your breakfast, you say pay it forward on something that simple, right? Why wouldn't someone pay it forward on something even bigger on some of these situations like that? So yeah, I totally get it, and I'm glad that you pay it forward because if it weren't for you, there'd probably be a lot of people stuck in some of their situations right now because you do make such an impact on a lot of people. And I've never had an addiction, but I know that whenever I have my hard times, like there's days whenever I come into Clapper and I'm one of those. I'm one of those bad ones that I don't comment and I don't make big conversation. I'm not a big talker. So whenever I go in there and I see something and it catches my attention like that, it just soaks into me. And so you have definitely on some of my bad days, and I don't like to use that word. Bad days is not a word that I like to use, and I just said it, but those days whenever I'm having a lot of pain and I'm in so much pain that I'm sick, I could go in and I can at least just laugh at
Yeah.
some of the things that you do. And there's other people that I see on there and they give encouragement and stuff like that. But so you do make a big impact. Just so you know, you make a big impact. I don't know if anybody reaches out to you a whole lot or anything like that, but know that you do. So it's very important, you know.
Appreciate that you say that. I legitimately just posted a video on this today. You know, I know I'm not alone. I know it in my head, but
Yeah.
I feel a lot of the time that I am not making a difference. What does it matter? And it is people like you that really speak to me to say, you know what, you should keep going, keep pushing on because you're not going to
Yeah.
feel it. You're not going to feel it in the moment that you do whatever it is you do, whether it's donating something or giving your time or even just a friendly hello or whatever it is. You're not going to feel your impact at
Yeah.
the time. Seldom felt, but it really does touch people that you wouldn't have touched otherwise. So I appreciate you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's very important for us to hear it sometimes. Like I don't expect to hear that kind of thing all the time and things like that, but it is nice to hear, right? It's nice to hear that you are doing some sort of good because if you never ever hear that, then you're like, who am I doing this for? Because I do that all the time. Um, I will have those and they call it what is they call it something whenever you're like, really, should I be here, and you question if you're doing the things right, if you're touching anybody's heart, if you're making that impact and things like that. So I think that everybody has those questions, and some people easier they block it out a lot easier
Yeah.
than most because I can't block it out because I'm like, if I'm not making an impact, because I just want to touch and inspire one person.
Yeah.
If I've done that, then I know I've done something. And so it's nice to hear from somebody. So I'm totally okay with being that one to tell you that you do make an impact and you do help. I don't know who tells you that, but I will tell you that you have made a huge impact on me in a lot of ways. Because whenever I started my journey, and of course, Clapper was my very first social media.
Really.
And it was my very first. My husband and I shared social media our whole marriage. And whenever, after all of my injuries and surgeries and things like that, I had to make a decision and I was like, I've got to start doing something online so I can continue to help people because I had to give up all of my in person clients because of my disease in my legs. And I was like, I cannot not be helping people. It's just that's what I want to do is help people. And so Clapper was my very first social media. Yeah.
Fun. You're not the only one to start on Clapper, but it's rare. Most of
Yeah.
us are. gently used from somewhere else, you know?
I know, and that's what I hear all the time is like, "Well, we came from over here," and there's one that something house, I think, Clubhouse or something.
Yeah.
A lot of people came from there, and I'm like, "I've never even heard of that." So yeah, so Clapper was my very first social media, and I mean, I still struggle from day to day because I'm not very. I mean, that was only in 2023, so I've really only been doing this for 3 years. So I'm still kind of green at everything, but I'm like, you know what? I'm going to keep going. I feel like there's people out there that they will hear me and they'll know that I'm genuine, and I have a really hard time creating content. You're really good at it. Let me just say, you are really good at
Listen, if I can do it, anybody can do it. Most of the time, I swear to you, it's stuff that I just think of that day, and I just yatter on like a fool. Listen, seriously, if I could do it, you could do it. Really, sometimes the biggest hindrance is we will have this like, "Oh, I don't know if I should post that. That won't be that funny," or, no one will really watch it or whatever that emotion, and you know what? You just do it anyways, and you throw it out there. Because
Yeah,
oftentimes, the stuff that you shouldn't post, that's the stuff that people like, and the stuff that you're like, "Ooh, this'll really be good. This'll be amazing," and nobody gives a rip anyway. So just
it
post
tanks.
and go for
Yeah. Well, I'll keep that in mind because I am very much one of those people that I think it out, I do it, and then I think about it even more, and then I just don't do it.
it.
I just don't post it. So
You just
that's
have
what
to
it does
unlock
for me.
your inner, like, hyperactive class clown who's just gonna go and do it and just don't worry about the consequences. That's all you gotta do.
Whatever. Just say whatever and get after it, right? So, what were some of your turning points that helped you move forward during your time as you were recovering? I know you said you had a lot of people that stood behind you and things like that, but was there one thing that just stands out to you in that journey that just said, "Okay, this is it. This is the time. It's time to go now."
So, it it's interesting, um, when I have 2 different wake ups, I'll call it, one with addiction and one with the mental health.
Mhm,
Um, the bipolar, I've been in the psych a few times,
mhm,
thousands of hours of counseling and different medications and all this other stuff. Um, but the road to, like, recovery, we'll call it, with mental health really woke me up when, um, I called a crisis line, and, it was one of those ones where they come to you. Mobile crisis center, they call it.
mhm,
And, they're asking me about the stuff, and the lady, I mean, bless her heart, she asked me the question, as she's doing her intake, "When was the last time you felt normal?" And that was the most profound question I've ever been asked before, because the politically correct thing to say is there is no normal. Well, that's baloney. There's a normal to you. And it's
mhm.
important that, for me at least, that I knew what normal to me was. And once I finally realized that, that's when my road to recovery could finally begin. Because realizing that you're not like everybody else, that you're maybe abnormal, that there's something quote unquote wrong with you is important to the healing process. Because
Yeah.
otherwise, you just bury your head in the sand and you say, well, I guess this is who I am and I do what I want. So
Mhm.
that was like, I don't know if I made a bigger deal about it than what's actually on the intake question, but for me, that was profound.
Yeah.
And as far as the addiction stuff, um, I had uh, a lot of friends pass on in their battle with addiction,
Mhm.
whether it was taking their own lives or overdosing or whatever. And you just have a lot of survivor's guilt, but you keep just pushing on, and then the guiltier you feel, the more you use and all that other stuff. Um, and with everything I quit, I would have these vivid nightmares about either my mother or my wife or one of my children or whatever, just looking at my open casket and saying, "I promised this would be the last time, and you promised you love me," and that tore me apart. So all the stuff that I tried to quit, it sounds strange, but I never quit any of them for myself. I don't think I ever would have. It was all because I didn't want to live that terrible example for the only people who really cared about me in the first place. Um,
Yeah.
I don't suggest you should do it for you. I don't suggest doing it for somebody else, but for me, I that was what I had, and
Yeah.
it, thank God for that because who knows where I'd be, right?
Yeah. Well, and I guess it's really whatever hits home with you, right? Whether it be for you, yeah, you want to do it for you, but whatever changes your process or changes your thoughts on the whole thing, right? I mean, so
It starts with a obviously as the wheels start turning, you start to do it for you, but I
yeah.
needed that push in the first place from
Mhm.
an external source or, you know.
Yeah. And I think that comes from everywhere. I think with a lot of people with addiction, you probably have all these mixed feelings, especially when it comes to you, to your family, to your friends, to all of the people that are trying to help you. And then you have that thought. So,
It's this
yeah.
constant cycle of people will not understand why you can't just stop. Just stop. You're obviously miserable, you obviously hate yourself, just quit. They can't understand you can't. It's a you have a chemical imbalance, right? So
Yeah.
there's that thing, and then you feel guilty about all the people you're letting down, and then in order to deal with the guilt, then you use, and you go round and around in this cycle over and over and over again with no way to get off the ride. So
Mhm.
whatever gets you off the ride in the first place, whatever that is, you run with it and then do the work, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, with all the encouragement that you give everybody, especially knowing that probably where most of them have been, right? If they're in that and you're trying to help them, encourage them to make that change, um, you do great things. You really do.
To be fair. I'll tell you.
I'm really not trying to embarrass you here. I just,
I feel shy
you really do. I just can't say it enough how much of a difference that you do make. So, um, a lot of people I'm going to continue and if like I said if this is too much we'll kind of back away from this, but there are a lot of people that they deal with mental health and it's silent, like you said. There's a lot of people that don't understand, or they feel like nobody understands them, right? They feel like they're completely by themselves. They're in a room alone. What do you think is so important about having these conversations with those people? Not just saying you're not alone, but having those in depth conversations with them to let them know. Because I will use me as an example. I say that a lot. It's like, you are not alone in this. You can reach out to people, you can do these things, because in my scenario with my situation, I felt like I was alone. I don't deal with addiction, I don't deal with those types of things, but with the disease that I have, I have so many people that come to me and just tell me it's in my head. So then you start thinking you're having some mental issues, right? You think, oh my gosh, I'm making all this up. Am I hypochondriac? Am I doing all these things? So encouraging them, what do you think is so important about making sure they have those conversations with people, or with you for that matter?
It's an interesting question. I think it depends on the age of the person. Like, pardon me. I think like if I'm going to take a stab here, if you're 40 or older, the biggest thing is just breaking the stigma over. So a lot of people grew up basically that mental health is not something you talk about. Mental health is
Mhm.
not. It's you know, there's no such thing as fill in the blank. Or, "Oh, you're
Mhm.
just having a bad day. Just get over it." You know, my
Right.
dad would often say, "Suck it up, dude," about literally everything. Um, in love,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
So breaking the stigma is huge. Realizing that, like, whether there's a million different mental health disorders. Me specifically, I have bipolar and I have another one called intermittent explosive disorder. I got an
Mhm.
IED. Um, it's it's explaining to people that, like, if I go into a serious depression and I can't get out of bed, I'm not actively choosing not to get out of bed. I'm not physically capable. It's the same as, somebody who has diabetes. If their insulin is out of whack, they can't just choose to raise their insulin, right? If somebody's having a heart attack, they can't just willfully open that artery. Or if
Right.
someone's having pain like you do, I have my own pain, not the same as you. You can't just, like, will that pain away. Just, okay, I'm happy now and fine, and let's do a little dance. It's not possible.
Yeah.
It's just how you're wired, right? So breaking
Yeah.
that stigma to realize, especially the hard part for mental health specifically, at least with my physical stuff, people can see when I'm hunched over. They can hear me in pain, like, they can see it. The mental health stuff, they can't see the brain chemistry that, you have billions of synapses, and if one of them's off, you're gonna make bad decisions, right? So
Yeah.
breaking that stigma is huge, and that's especially for, I'm assuming, anyone 40 or older. If you grew up
Yeah.
that way, and realizing that, you know, it's funny in a way because, like, for example, I have asthma. That's one of my many problems. Like, there's too much wrong with me to list. One of my many problems. Anyway, asthma, in a sense, you have your air tubes are swollen, and the air can't
Mhm.
part it. And people can understand that's an issue, right? But from a logical standpoint, when it comes to mental health, if you have tens of billions of neurons, it should make all the more sense that if somebody doesn't have the right brain chemistry due to what they're going through, they should have a really, really hard time. They should get
Yeah.
that, but they just don't a lot of the time. That's
Yeah.
key one. You know, break the stigma. There is nothing. It's there is nothing wrong with you, but there's something wrong with you simultaneously. There's nothing wrong
Mhm.
with you in that you can still live a normal life, quote unquote.
Mhm.
You can still
Yeah.
be fulfilled. There's lots of people with fill in the blank, just like you have, living a fantastic, fulfilling life. But at the same
Mhm.
time, there is something wrong with you in that if you don't treat it, whether that's through counseling, medication, whatever path a professional sets you on, then your life's
Yeah.
not going to get better. So you have to do something about it. There's a comedian that she is bipolar, and she's like, not taking your medication is like someone who can't swim and they go to a pool and they sink and they get mad at everybody. Where are your pool floaties then, man? That's what she said to me. So yeah, you have to, right? Like, you can't just bury your head in the sand and say, accept me as I am. So it's a two-sided thing, right? There's nothing
Yeah.
wrong with you, but there is something wrong with you. But then the other part, regardless of age, I found number one, like you said, you're not alone. Other people have walked this path. But I find comfort in people, me specifically, that share their story, that are walking examples that aren't just the generic, like, it'll be okay sense. Like, I legitimately have something and this is what I did. I legitimately
Yeah.
made this mistake and this is how I learned from it. And
Yeah.
that's why, like, for me, I have no secret, almost to a detriment, because I want to live my life like an open book because I have so many things wrong with me. And
Yeah.
there's so many people that can be helped by a story like mine. Um,
Yeah.
I always encourage people, if you're dealing with fill in the blank, never be afraid to share it. You don't
Mhm.
have to share it with the world, but if you have that feeling like, I really feel like I should say something, but I don't know if you should say something. You could save a life. You really could, and
Yeah.
that's the huge thing. Break the stigma, and then share your story. Those are the two, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah. Good answer. Man, that was a good answer. I like that one.
I'm sorry.
No, that was definitely a good answer. No, that was really good because, um, there's there's so many people out there that think that because they're not okay, that they're not okay. right? And we're all different. We all have our own thing. And no, I think that was really good. That was a good answer.
Once in a
That was a
while.
good answer. Say it again.
Once in a while, I do a good one. No promises, though.
Hey, no, no, yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, so you said you also we're gonna move on to a little bit. I want to talk about your hockey now. So you played hockey
No.
growing up? No, or you just
No,
really like
we were too poor for that. Um,
yeah.
the love of hockey really stems from, like I said, my entire family and friends, everybody, like nobody likes hockey. And my grandfather, I called him Papa. Pardon me. He was very like he loved to tease people. I remember like his wife's my nana, we called her, was Colleen.
Mhm.
And he would call her the wrong name just to get her going all the time, and you just hear her throughout the hair, "Harold!" It was that made me laugh, like, to this day, how he just liked to irritate her. She loved him so much, it's that kind of like anyway. Um, but he loved hockey, and, that was, like, my way of bonding with him initially. So we'd sit down in his basement, and he had, like, a wood stove, and we'd watch hockey games, and he really liked the Toronto Maple Leafs. Back then, you had to hate the Montreal Canadiens, so, of course, I was a Montreal Canadiens fan, so we could just battle it out. So that's where
Yeah.
it all started, and then from there, it kinda grew into I've realized over the years either, maybe it's a side effect of the bipolar, or maybe it's just how I'm wired, whatever. I love statistics. Uh, love statistics, sports statistics specifically. So that really, really just latched me on. So there was that. And I also realized later in life, so I always loved hockey history. I never realized until I got older that I enjoy history in general. So the hockey history thing is huge. So, if I like talk, if you talk to the average person about hockey, this is true of most sports. They'll talk about the game that happened yesterday or maybe their favorite player or whatever, but I love to talk about really obscure records, or who has the most of this, or this is what happened 120 years ago, or you know you have a question about why is this the way it is. Well, I have the answer for why that is. So I love that stuff. I love
Yeah.
watching the game, but it's almost not as good as the history of it and the fun facts and the statistics and whatever. So
Yeah.
like I said, when I came to TikTok, I was trying to make football stuff,
Mhm.
and the filter at the time was it does random NHL logos, and then there's a game. You have to get however many it was then, 15 of them, and then you have to get clear 30,000 points. So when the logo shows up, you got to pick a player who played for that team at some point in their career. I was like, this is so fun. To the average person, this sounds like a nightmare, but it's fun for me. So that's how I started with that stuff, and then I love to just talk about players that nobody talks about, especially super impactful players that people should be talking about, because most people only care about the players of today. So, like, that's my passion, is just teaching the history of it, or if somebody's up for a milestone, or uh, here's the cause of what happened here, or here's the ramifications if this happens. That's all super fun for me.
Yeah. Wow. That sounds it sounds interesting for many reasons. Number one, like with you wanting to get more in depth in the conversations or the discussion whenever have you had any questions like that? Do people ask you stuff? Do they like ask you basic questions and then you go way deep in there with the conversation?
It's kind of funny. So the average I'm sure this is true of most sports, but the average hockey creator on TikTok I'll use, because that's the only one I really invested into. Um, they're the type where if you put comments, they don't really answer or whatever. Um,
Mhm.
love to. I love to. That's my only engagement with hockey, because I don't have it in real life. I gotta like, find it elsewhere. Like a guy looking outside his marriage is not happy. It's like that for hockey for me. So I'm excited. Anything you want to talk, oh, hockey, I'll answer it, right? So I did really well over there because of that at the time, before I got frustrated with the actual app itself. So when I came to
Right.
Clapper, it was funny because a bunch of people give advice, which is great. But all the advice they're giving, I'm like, that's the stuff I already do, right? So then I remember, I'm not going to name names here, but there was somebody on the app who was talking to me, and they're like, "Yeah, you really made a name for yourself. You listen to all the advice." And I just wanted to say, you didn't give me any advice. This is what I did from day one. Just interact, right? You find a passion, whatever it is. For me, it's hockey. Uh, for you, it's exercise and being healthy. Fill in the blank, whatever you're passionate about, right? But that's
Right.
the stuff
Yeah.
that lights a fire in you, and somebody will, how can I do this? And you just want to talk about it, right? So that's me with hockey.
Yeah. Wow. So, I like to ask a couple of questions before we end. Um, what would you tell someone right now listening today if let me see how I want to word this. If somebody listening right now needed one piece of encouragement or advice to keep them moving forward in their own life, no matter what that journey is, maybe they're having some issues and they're trying to build something, or maybe they're having some issues on the end of the mental health, or whatever it is on their life journey, what would you want them to know? What would you want to tell them right now?
Without knowing their specific story, I guess the general advice I would give is it's not about how many times you fall, it's about how quickly you can get back up, you know?
Yeah,
We stumble, we make mistakes, we have failures, and thus far, it has not ended us. You know,
yeah,
it's hard to remember how victorious we truly are because all we feel is failure in some of those times, right? I mess up here, I messed up there, I burned this bridge, I did this and all that stuff. Well, you're still standing, right? And you have a
right.
fantastic opportunity to build whatever life you want to build, right? And it takes a different amount of work for everybody. People have different hurdles, but ultimately, whatever goal you have, whether that's being healthy or whether that's trying to get this new job or whether it's fill in the blank, right? Anyone can get there, right? And really, the sky's the limit as to how much effort you're going to put in and how much you're not going to look back on your past and say, "I wish I hadn't done this." You're going to look forward and say, "I'm going to do this." That's what
Yeah, yeah. Do you want to let any of the listeners know, like any of the platforms you're on, anything like that? Anything you want to talk about the platforms you're on or anything like that, you can go ahead and share that now.
Well, as you said, I'm on Clapper. If you go on Clapper and you see my big fat head, you're going to find a lot of random stuff. Some of it's funny. There's a lot of encouraging stuff. Uh, I talk about genuinely anything, but the fantastic part you'll find, and this is a secret for everybody. So I'm letting the world in. If you type a comment to one of my videos, and if it's not just emojis or like a nice, it's an actual sentence, I will read it and I will respond. If you try and DM me, I will answer you. It'll happen. That's Clapper. And then YouTube is all hockey stuff. They're all shorts at this point. I have man, man. I'm making full length videos, and maybe going live over there for just hockey stuff. It'll always
Okay.
be. And then I am debating just simultaneously being on Twitch. So I technically have a Twitch account as well. It'll be the same as YouTube.
Okay.
I've got nothing on there yet. But that's pretty
Yeah.
much the social media for me.
Okay. And now, do you want to say your profile name if anybody goes searching for you?
Profile name is NHL PhD. NHL is in National Hockey League. PhD as in this is a diploma you give to someone who knows a lot about whatever topic. And no, I don't have a PhD. I wish I did. That'd be really cool. It doesn't exist, but it's a fun nickname for someone who knows way too much about something you shouldn't know that much about and is not paid to know that much about it, but he does anyway.
That's a good one. I never knew that that's what that meant for your. if you've ever said anything about that. I did not know
We
that. Why?
have a couple different names. I wanted to have hockey historian, but that was taken. Same, not on Clapper, but I tried to have it the same everywhere. I wanted to have Dr. Hockey. I thought all this stuff is taken, so I had to find what I could find. But it works out because it's really short and sweet and just type it.
Yeah. It picks up, right? All right. So thank you, Tim, so much for joining us today and sharing your story. I really appreciate you coming in and hanging out with me. Last question before we wrap up. Is there anything else that you'd like to leave with our listeners today?
Well, firstly, thanks for having me. I'm happy to help. I adore you. I enjoy your company, your personality. If I haven't told you, you mean a lot to me. Yeah, I enjoy your smile and your friendship, and you're not just another random face on the internet. Like, it's been really nice connecting with you. What I'll say is the same thing I say at the end of every live when I'm on Clapper. Um, if you are a kind, compassionate, wonderful person, the world needs you now more than ever. There are millions of people online who are wondering whether they should get out of bed. Millions of people wondering whether they should even continue living. And the kindness of random strangers can have a profound impact on the decision to move forward. You can have that impact. Sometimes it's a smile. Sometimes it's a comment. Sometimes it's words of encouragement. Sometimes it is just being there. You really can save a life. So if you're one of those kind, compassionate, wonderful people, don't ever stop. People just like me who look super cheery inside sometimes wonder those same questions. And sometimes I have been saved by those very same kind people. So if you're one of those people, I appreciate you. Don't ever stop. The world needs you. Like in so many words.
Thank you, Tim. That was amazing. Thank you so much for saying that and leaving that with our listeners. Guys, thanks for everybody that's joining and watching the podcast. And with that, guys, remember this may be your personal journey, but you are never, ever alone. So, with that, I'm going to say, we'll see you next time. See ya.
Thank you for being here today. If this episode encouraged you, please share it, leave a review, and turn on those notifications so we can continue to grow together. Remember, strength isn't about being untouched. It's about choosing who you become in the process. And wherever you are in your journey, you are not in this alone. This is the grit of the matter. So keep moving forward.